Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Murray Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry. And today we're going to talk to you about what to do next now that you've filed your petitions when you're running for office.
This is a great show for all of you who are first-time candidates.
Yes.
Or for those of you who want to brush up and remember some easy tricks and tips.
When I ran for office, Murray, I had no idea what I was doing, and I had a lot of really bad advice early on.
One of the biggest frustrations I faced was how many roadblocks are put in your way.
Yes.
There's no place to find out even how to run, let alone how to get on the ballot, which is why we did the first episode, or what to do once you're on the ballot.
And I read all of the books, but all of the books are one person's experience, and a lot of times they're collections of experiences from people who already know the political process,
or that don't fit your geographic area.
Right.
Or they don't break down far enough to let you know if you've never done this before, if you're a total noob.
There's all these little nooks and crannies, and from personal experience, I overlooked a whole bunch of them, and it really
nooks and crannies
bit me in the ass.
Big difference.
Yes, they do.
Absolutely. So today our podcast is sponsored by Blue Prairie Strategies. They are an organization that will help you get your campaign on track, whether it's consulting or advice or full service. We'll post the link. It's Blue Prairie Strategies.
It was something that I should have known about and hired early on. Instead, I just made all kinds of bad hirings.
So let's start with the first thing. Your petitions are filed.
Yes.
Right? You've made it through that big step. Mm-hmm. Now begins the process of obsessively checking your local or state election site to see if anybody's challenged your petitions.
If you have a challenger in the primary, you're probably going to get challenged. I had no challenger in the primary. I didn't receive any challenges. So, but
you
Murray
can
was
also, even if you don't have a challenger, if the other party thinks you're strong enough or a threat, they will challenge your petition.
That's probably why I didn't have a challenge, Marie. I was no threat to anyone. So after you do your obsessive checking, and the thing is if you don't check every day, the day you don't check is the day that challenge is going to come down, and you need to be on top of that. So then the next thing you need to do is start building out your calendar. You need to know where all the events are. Every fish fry, every rummage sale, every get together, right now we have all kinds of holiday events. You need to be at all of those. You need to be present, not just for the photo op, but to be there to interact with people.
To find out about your community, to reach people, to let them know who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah, why are you running? We talked about that in the first episode we did on running for office. You have to find your why, and you have to tap into that why every time you feel down, every time you feel over-challenged. You got to tap into that why so that you armor yourself so that you can go forward. So that's, so important. And then the next thing you need to do is, once you build out your calendar, you have to make sure that you get your walk piece together. Your walk piece is something they used to call them palm cards because you would hand them from your palm to someone else's palm, and you need to make sure that it contains your concise message, a great picture of you. Doesn't have to be a professional picture, a good picture of you, and
oftentimes a good picture. So the ideal walk piece, it has your picture on both sides.
Yeah.
One, just a picture of you. And the other side has a picture of you and your family, or you interacting with constituents, or you and dogs. Something that brings out your personality and allows people to feel a better connection to
that
you.
You're relatable.
So you need your picture. You need a very short bit about who you are. People aren't going to read it from head to toe.
Yeah.
Too wordy can be overwhelming.
Terrible.
And people won't pay attention.
Right.
A little bit. So I would say, Murray Briel, a mother, wife, political activist, looking to make a change in Will County or Springfield or DC.
Right.
Bringing your voice, focusing on, pop your 3 issues out. They should be bold pointed.
Yes. Education, jobs, environment, whatever it is, healthcare. Make sure that those are on there because people need to know what you stand for. Just bullet points. You don't want to deliver your entire discourse, your entire blog piece on healthcare. You want to just say that you're for healthcare reform, you're for education reform, whatever it is, just, 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, that's it. And, bullet point them. And that should be enough, because a lot of times people aren't going to read past there.
Right.
So you need to make sure that it's quick and concise.
And small. You don't want to
Yeah.
have a giant thing, because if it requires people to fold it up to put in their purse, chances are they're going to leave it.
Right.
Think about that. Even if a guy fits in his pocket, it
Yeah.
should be 3 by 5, 4 by 6.
Like a postcard.
Something along
Yeah.
those lines. So, of course, you really have to tailor your message.
And work with a really good graphic designer. It's worth the money. I made the mistake of letting somebody help me who really didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know what I was doing. And my first professional walk piece was a disaster. So
One of the things that's very important to put on there, if you are in Illinois, and I believe other states have it as well, although I don't know which ones, is an ability to register online to vote.
yes.
So it's il.ova.gov. I imagine that if you went to ova.gov, it would direct you to the states that also participate in this.
Right.
But in Illinois, you can give it to someone, or if someone says they're not registered, you can say, I would love to register you right now.
Get out your cell phone.
Yeah, here, if you want to register, you can do it. Then you're not doing it. You don't have to be a voter registrar, but you're sharing
The
message.
information.
And it is a wonderful thing where people will actually hold on to your piece a little more.
That was on every single one of my walk pieces.
Mine too.
Yeah. The other thing is people need to know how to get a hold of you. So you need to have a phone number they can reach you at. Some people go out and they'll get,
A burner phone.
a burner phone. So
I used my own personal cell phone through the
I
whole
did
campaign.
too. But a lot of people are more private than that and they don't like their number out there. I have to say, as much as my phone number is out there, I don't get a lot of weird phone calls. So
Exactly. But that's up to you. And then
social media.
in order to end your piece with how to reach you, your website, social media, your links, make sure you put an ask in there, a very strong ask.
Yes.
So join me.
To fight for healthcare. Join me to
Join me.
fight for education parity. Join
Whatever
me.
your niche is, or what's most important to your constituents, the ask is there. Join me.
Yeah.
So that's really important.
I need your vote. And when you're talking to people and you hand them that, make sure that that skin to skin contact, that your hand in their hand, look them right in the eye and say, I really need to count on your vote. Can I have your vote? Make sure you ask for that, because that's one thing that I felt really shy about, but that's something that you really need to do. And make sure that they understand how compassionate you are and how dedicated and driven you are.
And it's very easy to forget you are representing. Your job will be to represent people.
Yeah, not
And
yourself.
it's hard to ask people to put their faith in you if you don't have that faith in yourself or that mindset.
That goes back to that why. You've got to have your why. I ran because my state, the person that was representing me didn't represent and still doesn't represent my values. So, that's when I would tap into that. I think, if I can't be the one out there fighting for women's rights, if I can't be out there fighting for the children of my district, she's not going to do it. I needed to be there. I needed to be that voice. And
you're doing it for those that you're asking for help from. Don't forget that. It's very hard to ask people to support you for some reason. I don't know why it is, but it's tough to say, I need your help financially. I need your help.
we're going to talk a little bit
socially.
about fundraising here in a second.
I
But
need your help. It's
yeah,
because somehow to me it felt selfish. I was doing this selflessly.
yes.
But in actuality, you're doing it for everyone, for those
Right.
folks.
It can never be about you running for office. It has to be about you running for the people of your community. So,
And your community will support you if you ask for help. So be
Right.
sure you have that ask ready.
and then the next thing you need to do, Marie, is you need to make your stump speech. You need to make a 15-word speech that you can give somebody as you're standing in line at the grocery
30-second
store.
elevator speech.
Yeah, I'd even make it shorter. And then you need to give your one that when you're invited to speak in front of groups, that you can deliver in under 3 minutes using as few words as possible and as much passion as possible about the things that you want to fight for.
Then you will say, I've heard this from candidates countless times, and it's the biggest mistake you can make, is, well, I like to talk freehand. I like to talk off the cuff. I like to, and that's great.
I had
You
my
may
stump
be
speech, but
excellent at
yeah.
doing that. Unfortunately, you can trip up.
Yes.
You cannot get your message across.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, from your walk piece to your elevator, to your 15-second, to your 30-second, to your 90-second, you need to repeat the same points each
Right.
and every time. Because the more you repeat those points, the more in people's mind you become synonymous with those things.
Right.
It's a marketing trick. It's an advertising trick. It's a political trick. You have to do this.
And Murray, a lot of people, I'm very comfortable speaking in public, very comfortable with it. But I had a lot of practice before I came into running for office. So here's one of the things that I used to do. I used to go to Toastmasters, which there might be a Toastmasters near you. You may have to drive to go to one. You can also hire a coach that can help you with speech and delivery. Now, I did have my stump speech down, but a lot of times when I had to give, I was like the cornerstone, speech of the night. That is a lot of off the cuff for me. So, and that's different.
Fine. That's very different.
Yeah.
But you also need to tailor your message, but you need to have that core stump.
Right.
So that 30-second stump, that 90-second stump is really important.
Know who
because
you are and what you stand for.
You will interweave your 3 points,
Yes.
your message into the group that you're going to.
Every single time.
If you're going to a labor hall, I strongly suggest you don't bring up that you support right to work.
Oh my God.
Not that any good Democrat ever would, but you have to understand who you're talking to. If you're talking to a labor hall, don't talk about immigration. That's not important to them.
No.
If you're talking to a group of teachers, don't talk about infrastructure. They don't care. So make sure you know what's important to the groups you're talking to and speak to that while still incorporating that same message.
And here's, on those cold winter days when you really can't get out and do much, that's the time to do your homework on labor history, on the education funding formula for your area, on the infrastructure needs for your area. I used to study, and I'd study for all hours of the day and night on days that I couldn't get out. So, but you need to be out there talking about it, and you need to educate yourself. This is the time that you need to put the work in. And the work is hard and it's long. The days are long. But if you want to win this, you're going to do it.
So you have your message now and you're ready to go. Mm-hmm. You need to make sure that you know who you're talking to, whether you have, most particularly if you have a primary challenger.
Yes.
So there's more than one of you in a race. It's going to be extremely important to hit the Democratic base.
Oh, yeah.
So how do I know who's a Democratic voter in my neighborhood?
In the primary, you talk to the voters of your party, of the party you're running for. If I'm a Democrat, I'm not going to go talk to Republicans during the primary. They're not going to be the ones voting for me, but I need to make sure that I'm at every single county Democratic Party meeting, every single labor hall meeting, every single one of them. If there's 3 people in the room, it's time to get talking. And you need to make sure that you make all of those, that you don't miss one, not one. You need to talk to the voters that are going to vote for you.
You also need to make sure that you have those doors that you're knocking. Knocking doors is very important.
Huge.
Depending on your geographic district, some areas are very small.
Yeah.
Some areas are very big.
Vast.
Depending on what you're running for. A county can be huge.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, it's ever more important that you hit those doors. Mm-hmm. So when you're knocking doors, how do you just mentioned I should be going to Democrats, but how do I know who's a Democrat?
Well, there's a couple really easy ways. You can use a tool that we have in Illinois called Vote Builder if you can afford it.
And it can be expensive, mm-hmm. but I would say in Illinois, if you are running for a state office or a county office, it is extremely important and it is invaluable to you. So if you're raising any money at all, or you have enough for your walk pieces, put the other into
Vote
Vote
Builder.
Builder.
But
It's
if
a
you're
way
like,
to track everything, to cut turfs, to help people. People can use it who are your volunteers remotely to get your message out. It is so important.
I would ask the
party to
well-
pay for it if you don't have a challenger.
well, but that doesn't always work that way. They want you to pay for it. And how I was able to work with that is I asked my friends and my co-Democrats in my area. I asked my precinct committeemen to go and walk my pieces and make the calls for me using their list. The other thing you can do, and this is what I ended up doing, is I went down to my county courthouse. I ran in 7 counties, so I went to those 7 courthouses, and they will give you have to buy them, but they're very inexpensive.
$7, $10, $15.
Yeah, you can buy the list. And you have
you
to
get a paper list, and
Yep.
you can go through and mark each and every one.
right, and
Then you
that's-
input that into some sort of database.
right.
Which is why, again, Vote Builder is just more advantageous because it's already marked. You know who's supporting you. You know who wants a sign. You can tailor scripts.
Right. And you want to get
It
those
is
signs
a
out
really
there.
invaluable tool, but it's also frustrating because it's a money-making tool for your
Yes.
party
Yeah.
on both ends. So, like Heidi said, if you don't have a primary, but you'll have a general challenger, you would think that the party would give you access to this to help you win, but they won't. You have to pay for it.
I got access in October and the election was in November from my
Yeah.
party because
So-
I didn't have enough funds to purchase it. So we were going off these lists that I was getting from
The county
the
boards,
county.
the county chairs.
Well, now they have a new app, Marie, and I don't even know. I just learned about this on Sunday when I was on Saturday when I was at a candidates meeting, and it's called the Reach app. And when you use Reach, it's like our Vote Builder minivan app for the Democratic Party. But when you use this Reach app, it's going to take you through a training, and then it will let you canvas whoever canvasses when you talk to somebody. It'll let you canvas anybody you meet and enter it
Yep.
into your phone. And that database becomes imperative to you to win elections, especially once you primary through and you're in the general. So this Reach app is remarkable. I did the training and I have it on my phone now so that as I help other candidates that are running for election, I can canvas as I go without having their Vote Builder list. So it's just, I'm a canvas-aholic. I love to knock on doors. Love it.
Take pictures when you're knocking on doors.
Yeah.
This is vital. It is so important to have those pictures because you'll use those to let people who you might not be able to reach at the door about it on your social media.
Yes.
Whether it's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, you need
WhatsApp.
people to know what you're doing.
Right. Right. And, I would do that all the time when I would get their commitment to vote for me. I'd say, can we get a picture? And we'd get take a picture at their door and I would post it. I'd usually send it right out on Twitter right then. I'd say, thank you so much. I'm going to tweet this out right now. And I would also do little videos. And sometimes people would say, this is why I'm voting for Heidi Henry. And they would give this little speech and I'd tweet it out. And it was wonderful. It made me feel more positive about my candidacy. And it would make me feel like my message was reaching people. And that's a very powerful thing. So making sure that you've got all of those lists together. And the thing is the lists from the county board are going to be harder, or from the county clerk are going to be harder to work with than a simple app on your phone. But so worth doing because especially a grassroots candidate like me that had no support from the
And
party and her, yeah, and she had
We're in the same boat.
yes. So, but using those things gives you a source to tap into, and your volunteers are going to be so willing to help you. They believe in you, and
Volunteers are so important. We talked when we were getting ready to run, let everybody know, ask for help.
Yep.
All those folks who gathered petition signatures for you, send them a thank you, let them know you appreciate them, and ask them for more help.
Yes.
Everyone you met when you were getting petition signatures, anyone you made a connection with, reach out to them and ask them to be a part of your team and to help. It is imperative. The more volunteers you have, the more people that believe in you, the way you believe in you, the better chance you have of winning your race.
And the thing is sometimes people, when they're out there canvassing with you, they're afraid because they've never done it before. And I take people with me all the time when I go out to canvass. I took people with me yesterday when I was canvassing. I said, let me show you how easy it is, because in all the doors I've knocked, the tens of thousands of doors that I've knocked in my lifetime, I've had like one or two that didn't go well,
Really?
Three.
Those are some pretty good odds. 'Cause,
Yeah.
it depends on the day, whether you got a good day or
Well,
a bad day, I'll tell you. But
always-
overall, people are not scary. They're happy that you're there to talk, even if they're on a different side than you.
Can I give you a pro tip?
Yeah.
When I canvass. So when somebody opens the door, I always tell them who I am, and then I will compliment their house, their pot of, their decorations, because this time of year it's winter decorations are out. I will find something to love about what they're wearing or how they look. I will admire their dog. You have to give somebody a compliment. And the thing is that for me, this reaching out and touching somebody made me feel more invested in them to begin with. So if I said, oh my gosh, you've got the most beautiful eyes, and if they didn't, I would have found something else. You have to find something to love about everybody you meet. That's just my personal philosophy. It develops that connection to them, and it makes you appreciate and care about them more. Even somebody whose dog is trying to eat you, So
your dog is so cute. I promise, if you vote for me, I won't sue for the rabies shots. Thank you. No, probably not. But that brings us to canvassing, and we're going to do a separate episode.
We're going to role play canvassing.
We're going to build out several of these components over the next couple of weeks to get you ready to hit
dog
full
treats
bore January 1st.
Hey, Murray, I have to tell you, I want to talk a little bit about the dog thing. We'll just take a little segue. So there was another person running for a different seat in my area, and he asked me, how many times have you been bitten? And I said, never, never. He's 7 times. I'm like, oh, dogs are a good judge of character. But I always have cookies too, so dogs know that I'm a dog enabler. Be the dog enabler.
Okay,
people
I'm
love their
known
dogs
to roll around on the floor
with dogs.
At a house with dogs because I'm kind of a dog addict. So if you have a dog, it's hit or miss on whether it's a good idea to canvass with your dog.
Don't canvass with your dog.
Because if you're going somewhere where dogs are welcome and your dog is well behaved, great place to canvass with your dog. Tree lighting.
But if you knock on Cujo's door,
festivals, but dogs tend to become territorial in their own homes. So if you walk up with a dog, you're already making the owner like,
yeah, don't go door to door with your dog. That's never a good idea. And the one thing I do is on my phone, I have like pictures of my dogs and my horses, and I'll say, let me show you my dog. And then they're like, then, you can bond. Or let me show you my kitty.
You have a common.
Yeah, you have and the thing is these are the people you're going to represent. Find something you have in common with them. It's so important for you when you represent them to know how much you have in common with the people in your area.
And ask them what's important, but that'll be a whole
thing.
We've got a whole canvas issue.
So here's the other thing.
You've got your calendar, but you need to schedule walk time. You need to schedule call time because you have to raise money.
Yes.
This is one of the things I think most candidates find the hardest.
That was very hard for me.
Is asking for money. It was very hard for me too. And you may think you don't have a list. The fundraisers will tell you need a list. You need a list. Everybody you ever met, everybody you worked with, everybody.
Hitting up at people is so hard.
It is. But if you're like me, I didn't have, in this digital age, it's not as easy to capture. There's so many ways to get a hold of someone.
Yeah.
And people change so often that cell phones might not be good, emails might not be good. So it's kind of hard, and that can be overwhelming. But focus on those that you know and ask them. And remember, again, it goes back to you're not asking someone to don't give me money.
It's not for me. It's to serve the community.
I can represent you.
Right.
It's for you. It's for your neighbor. And if you have that mentality, it makes it easier. And ask. Don't be, I don't know how much to ask for. You have to ask.
Yeah. And the thing is that every $5 is going to help, but 50 will help more. And you I ran out of money so quickly, Marie. It's over and over and over again. And
many candidates do,
Yeah.
especially first-time candidates, because they put their resources in areas not necessary.
or they don't have any money.
Or you don't have any money, or the money that you get, you think you need to do this, or you pay somebody to do something that doesn't work out. And consultants are sort of a rip, which is why Blue Prairie is actually different. They won't give you a bill every month to tell you what you need to do. They'll actually help you get through.
Right. And that's so important, is finding the right help. I hired off of Swing Left, which is a website, which, because I didn't know what I was doing, I hired poorly. So
Reach out if you're looking for help.
talk
Reach
to
out
people
your
they work
county
for.
chairs.
Yeah.
Talk to your elected officials. They may have people who worked on their campaigns that are looking for work. They may know someone who's a great person and wants to be more involved. Those are great places to start. Start
Yes.
local. Start with people that you know, because you can end up with some real humdingers. And we'll do an episode on humdingers one day.
I win.
I don't know. One of my challengers in the primary had a whole lot of humdingers with her.
Well, and here's the other thing: is you're walking around talking to people. I always carried a notebook with me, and people would ask me questions. Just how does this work? How does that work? Can you help me do this? I would get people would say, I have called my I ran for a state Senate seat. I've called her 16 times. She's never returned my calls. I need help with this. And I would say, let me help you with that. And I would find the answer for them.
It's also a great way to get their contact information, and to be able to follow up with them shows how much you care, and
Yes.
will lead to a really
And you have
important
to care
supporter.
that much. You absolutely have to care that much. And people they'll be
People
so
can
glad.
see if you don't care.
Right.
If you're in it for the wrong reasons, it will become apparent.
If you're a candidate that's not willing to knock doors, if you're not willing to go to somebody's house and talk to a perfect stranger over and over and over again, people will know that you have no relationship to your community. I can't even tell you how important, I don't care how big your district is, you have to reach out and touch people. You have to.
You, speaking of reaching out and touching people, reach out and touch your elected officials. Whether it's your
Yes.
district folk, your county folk, your city folk,
Your state folk.
reach out to them and let them know who you are, that you are running, and you'd like to meet with them.
Yes.
It is important beyond belief, because here are people who have won in your party,
Yes.
in your area, and they know what is important to the people that
Yeah.
they represent. It's a great way for them to get to know you. Ask for their support. Ask them to endorse you. And you can use that to let other people know who think that John is an awesome animal control supervisor. I don't know if that's an elected position, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
okay.
in some communities, yeah.
All right. So everybody loves him,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, you're really good for animals. That makes a difference.
It does.
Everyone you can reach. So getting in touch with and some of the electeds may really like you and be like, hey, I'd like to have a fundraiser for you.
Right.
Let me introduce you to 3 or 4 other people who should
Mm-hmm.
know you.
Right.
It is so important to get to those people. Now, there's a fine line between asking for an endorsement and cornering someone for an endorsement. But get to the
Yeah.
point where you're willing to make the ask. So our big takeaways, I think, today are: know who you are, know why you're running,
Yes.
have that message in everything from your walk piece to your stump speech to your long speech,
Everything.
everything.
Every piece of literature that goes out from you, every letter that you write to every union.
Repeat those same messages.
Right.
Make sure that you know who you are and why you're running, and that ask.
Make that ask. And here's something that we forgot. On your block pieces, all your letterhead, everything should have a union bug on it. Use a union printer. I cannot stress it's
Use
coming,
a union printer.
coming from a union family. My husband was a union guy. I found my dad's first union card the other day. I'll post a picture of it because it's adorable. You need to make sure that you use the facilities and the artisans that
represent your party.
and represent your values.
Absolutely.
So-
Your values. Another thing that we missed, so sorry about that,
Yeah.
is make sure that when you're going to things, when you're going to places, you know your audience and that you're bringing something of value.
Yes.
So if you have a union that's striking, say, and they're picketing, we've had a lot going on in Illinois with teachers, with UAW, with nurses. If you're going to show up to support them, be ready to stay there and support them, or bring something to show that you support them.
Dress
Hand
for the
warmers,
weather.
coffee,
Donuts.
ponchos, donuts. Show them that you're there for them more than just for a photo op.
Right.
People see through transparent acts. So do what you do and do it
And the thing is
genuinely.
when I would walk up to a picket line, number one, I kind of have a list of whoever's on strike, and you, by connecting with your local AFL-CIO, you know who is struggling right now and needs support, and they want to see you there to know that if you get elected, you're going to support working people's issues all the way to the end. You're going to see it through. So yeah, show up. I like to bring a little coffee Joe from Dunkin' Donuts and some cups, or a box of donuts. Easy to do, as my friend Jim Rohn would say, easy not to do. So do it because it means a lot. Those men and women are out there in all the elements
for what they feel is right, fighting for a better life, fighting for basic rights.
Yeah.
So when you show up at a picket line, remember that. You're not there for you, you're there for them. These people are fighting to make a better life for themselves and their coworkers, and you should be there for the right reasons.
Well, a better life for our community, because
organized community, absolutely.
Union labor is the backbone of the middle class. So you need to support that hands down. I mean, if they protested one fast food place not too far from here, I have never been in there. I will never go in there.
One final thing we want to make sure that you pay attention to right now is your mailbox and your email.
Yeah.
At this point, you're going to be receiving invitations to do forums, invitations to talk to groups, to
You're
be
going to
able
get
to give
surveys.
speeches. You're going to get special interest groups, labor groups that want you to fill out questionnaires. From those questionnaires, you may get endorsement sessions. You need to be able to reach out to these people, know when those deadlines are. We go back to our calendar.
Yes.
And make sure somebody
Put
looks
them in
that
there.
over. Make sure
here's something.
you meet those deadlines, because those endorsements are important.
And make sure that you follow up. If you've sent them in, because I sent one in to a local organization and somehow they didn't receive it. So I didn't get their endorsement, and they would have endorsed me had I sent it in. Well, I had. Somehow it was
They will
lost.
send you, most of the time, they'll send you a thank you for, but you are not being endorsed.
Right.
If they do not, there is nothing wrong with calling them and making sure they received it and saying, I would follow up with every single one you send.
Yes.
I would follow up with that phone call and be sure they got it.
It's
because
hard.
I almost missed the Tribune because their sign in was different and it was right to the wire, and I had to get a hold of the editor, and they were able to. So you have to make sure you follow up on that.
You have to follow up on it. And I know with me, it was a lot of times a one-woman show, or me and a couple of volunteers. It was really difficult to find time for following up on communication.
So a volunteer maybe would be great for this. Find somebody
who
manage your calendar.
Right. Somebody who maybe they can't walk, they've got limited mobility, or they don't feel comfortable with it. Put them in charge of your calendar so they can keep you on top of things. That is so valuable. And I wish I would have utilized that sooner, So those are another pro tip for you. So
remember, now you've got on the ballot and nobody's challenged you because you're just that good. A challenge is a whole separate episode. But you're on the ballot. This is what you need to do to get yourself over the next hump. We're going to hit hard on some issues coming up that will let you know what to do starting January 1st. But here's a great place to start. So if you have any questions, reach out, email us, call us. I am asking you to donate. If you think this is valuable, see the ask. I tied it in with the episode. If you think we're valuable, if you love what we do, if you share what we do, we appreciate it. But we'd also appreciate it if you'd feel the holiday spirit in your heart and be willing to donate.
And you donate at www.heartlandmamas.com.
Thanks again for tuning in. We look forward to our next episode. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.